Hello bullet journaling friends. I feel like you can tell when my life is getting busy because my bullet journal gets really simple. I'm using all my favorite colors. I always love these combinations. I've drawn most of those colors from these washi tapes. This is the Delicate Floral Wreaths washi tape sticker set from the Washi Tape Shop. Also these two from their fragrance set. As always, I've already sketched out my layout in pencil. I have some stickers on hand as well. I use a couple on the title page and then I kind of forget about them. A gold gel pen for just a little bit of accenting since there's some gold in the floral washi tapes. This is a similar kind of setup to my January 2022 Plan With Me video, which you guys seem to really enjoy. The way that I'm decorating it is similar in that it's very simple and minimal, but the actual layouts are a little bit different this time around. This first page is going to be a quote page, but in a very subtle kind of way. So I'm adding a little bit of a collagey, scrapbooky central part with washi tape and stickers first off. As always, trial and error, just moving things around on the page, layering things up before I commit anything to sticking down, so that I can be certain that I'm happy with it before I make it permanent. This is my first time using tweezers with stickers and I don't really know what I'm doing, and I think it kind of shows. It's a lot easier to precisely place something with tweezers, but I always seem to peel off my sticker from the wrong place, so I clearly need more practice. I'm using a Pigma Micron 03 fine liner for all of my fine liner sections for this layout. And I'm just adding the quote in two parts above and below the sticker feature in the center. My quote this time is, "And all at once, summer collapsed into fall," which will sound like an interesting choice to some of you, but I am in Australia, which is in the Southern Hemisphere, and we have just entered autumn and will soon be going into winter, so trust me, it makes sense for us. Because obviously this is a floral layout which is suitable for those of you who are in spring, but also where I live in Australia, we don't really get autumn colours. Trees just stay green year round, so it's not that it doesn't apply to us, it's just multi-purpose, right? On the facing page, I'm setting up my calendar for the month. I realised, thankfully, before I got into any pen, that I had set up the month of May entirely wrong. I had it starting on the wrong day when I set everything out in pencil first, so I'm glad I worked that out before I got in there with a fine liner. The calendar is nice and small this time around. I wanted to make sure there was lots of negative space on the page, so each of the boxes are 3 spaces by 3 spaces, with a tiny little pink dot in the top left corner for the number for each day of the month. May starts on a Sunday, which is a little bit irritating when you like your weeks to start on a Monday, but we will work with what we've got. And I'm adding one of these floral wreaths up the top, and I'm going to use some of the stickers from the individual plant part of this washi tape set to fill out that wreath a little bit more, give it some extra volume. I'm just making sure that I follow the direction of the leaves in whatever part of the wreath that I'm adding to at the time, trying to match up colours of green and that kind of thing to make it look a bit more natural and organic. And everywhere there's a little join, I'm adding a flower in that spot as well. It's hand lettering time. When I went back in to thicken my downstrokes, I did the wrong one on the M, which is a little bit annoying, but it has only got to get me through a month, so I'm not going to let it get me down. I'm just colouring in those downstroke areas and one upstroke that isn't supposed to be treated like a downstroke, thickening up some of those lines, and I just wanted to give it a little bit of something extra, so I'm using that gold gel pen just to add a bit of something to those thickened parts as well. I wouldn't recommend doing this last because this gold has actually transferred onto the other page. I guess it wasn't completely dry by the time I turned the page, so maybe some blotting paper in there would be a good idea if you do something like this. I always forget that about gel pens and then I use them again and I'm like, this is why I haven't used gel pens in such a long time. This page is for my gratitude, goals, and currently sections. For the gratitude section, I just have space for a few words of gratitude every day. I don't always remember to fill it out on the day, but I can usually keep track of what I was doing over the week and come up with something if I need to kind of fill in a backlog. I've always got to have a goals section or I will forget about my yearly goals altogether. And the currently part is just for whatever I'm into at the time, just keeping track of my interests and what I'm watching, reading, listening to. I'm using the super duper light Tombow 800 baby pink marker just to accent every second line, and I'm adding some more stickers to the corners just to give me a little bit of something, but not every corner. The opposite page is for my habit tracker. Now I always do the same kind of habit tracker, and in my PHOMEMO video I showed you a different way that you could use the PHOMEMO mini printer to make a habit tracker, and then I was like, I need to actually try this in a layout that I am using for the month. So I've made myself a calendar in Canva, just a blank one like this, it's little dotted lines, and I'm using a transparent version of the PHOMEMO printer paper this time. I think it's the semi-transparent actually. And the ink doesn't come out quite as dark on this paper as it does on the plain white paper, so it looks a little bit faint on camera. I can see the lines totally fine in real life, so I'm not too concerned. But I've printed 6 of these and I'm going to use 1 for each habit, so I'm just going to peel these stickers off their backing. If you'd like to know more about the PHOMEMO MO2 mini printer, I have a whole video on that I will pop a link to up in the top right hand corner for you, so you can find out more if you're like, what the heck is she doing? How did she just print those things? I got you. Usually I do track more than 6 habits, so this is paring it back a little bit for me, but I think that will honestly be a good thing because I'm definitely tracking things that I don't necessarily need to be tracking. Gonna stick another wreath up the top here to add my heading into. Close up my box. I like putting things in boxes when I'm going for a minimal layout because it just makes everything feel clean and cohesive, especially when the boxes line up on facing pages. That just feels extra comfortable and intentional and clean. This time around I'm adding stickers in all 4 corners and also at the halfway points of the vertical sides as well. Continuing with the trackers, my next page is my spending log. It is the same as always. I don't mix it up because it isn't broken and I have nothing to fix. It's 2 tables right next to each other. Each table has 3 columns, item, cost, and category. Every time I buy something, I write it down in my table. I don't always remember straight away, but I go back through my bank history and then I copy it in. At the end of the month, I tally up everything that I spent and I organize it by category. And then I transfer that into my overall spending tracker for the whole year. I have a cash flow page where I monitor all of the money that comes in, all of the money that goes out, and then I can see trends in my spending and work out where I'm spending too much money. I can compare things across years because I've been doing it for quite a while now. I can look back at May 2021 and May 2020 and see if they were typically expensive months, if there were bills or anything that I need to make sure that I look out for. This page ends up with a lot of data in it, so I always like to keep it very minimal. I'm just going to add some washi tape along the bottom. This is one of the fragrance washi tapes, and I didn't want it to interfere with the bottom of the table just in case I need that space, so I've trimmed the top off the washi tape design just to give me a little bit of extra wiggle room. Couple more stickers at the top just to tie everything together. This is my first time using a washi tape sticker where it comes on a roll like a washi tape, but actually they're individual stickers that are separate from each other, so it's an interesting system. This next page is my phone and sleep tracker, which again is the same as always. I've tried to match up the boxes of the phone and sleep tracker with the facing page on the spending tracker so that the top row kind of matches up. I'm also using similar colors in similar spaces. The smaller column is my phone tracker, so that's just by the number of hours. If I use my phone for 3 hours in a day, I check on the digital well-being section, and then I can just draw a line from the far left side of the column up to the 3, and then I'll know that was 3 hours. The sleep side is a little bit different. Say I sleep from 10 till 7, then I will draw a line from the 10 till the 7. And I forgot to add the initials for each day of the week on this phone and sleep tracker, but I will come back and fix that later when I realize. Most of the pens I'm using in this setup are the Tombow dual brush pens, the coloured markers, but a couple of them are actually from the Monami Colour Twin brush set, and they're really interesting pens. They're very soft. I used them in my April setup as well, the green ones, and they're a little bit trickier to get a good line out of them in your bullet journal. They're not quite as smooth to use as the Tombows, but they give a different effect, and I have slightly different colors, so I was happy to go for a mix here. If anything I'm using has caught your eye, jump into the description. I have links to everything there, right down to each specific colored pen in case you want to get just one Tombow. You can find that info down in the description. I also have a blog post that accompanies this layout, which has detailed photos of each page. It has links to all of the equipment that I've used and a little bit more about the process of putting it together. So if you'd like to see that, that link is also in the description. This spread is for my content calendar, and I call it a spread because it goes over 2 pages, and that's technically what a spread is. If this comes as a surprise to you, I have a whole video about bullet journal terminology that I will pop a link to up in the top right hand corner, so you can come and learn about the bullet journal words because sometimes it can be quite specific. So the content calendar is where I organize all of my social media stuff, and from last month I started using friction pens, which are these erasable pens from Pilot. I used them exclusively when I first started bullet journaling because it's like having training wheels for your bullet journal. They're so good. I stopped using them and I actually gave them all away, and then I realized I was changing stuff on my content calendar so much. I was just moving things around and it was getting really frustrating. So I picked up a 4-pack of pastel friction pens, and I'm just going to use them for all of my content calendars every month. I've assigned each color to a specific social media platform, and then I can just move them around. And I also picked up a friction fine liner as well, so I can write over the top of those highlighters with that and keep everything consistent month to month. So far it's working really well for me. I'd considered using post-its or sticky notes or something like that, but this seemed like a much more sustainable system. And I've also added in a different color at the top and bottom of this calendar the rest of the week that continues out of May. So the 25th through to the 30th on the top line are from April, and the 1st to the 5th on the bottom row will be going into June, just so that I can keep whole weeks together. I just find it's easier for me to plan a Monday to a Sunday than to have to switch backwards and forwards between different layouts and different months and that kind of thing. So if you also keep a content calendar in your book, I really recommend doing that. It's really helpful. It does mean I have the same planning across my April and my May spreads sometimes for my content calendar, but I'm alright with that. And at this point, I remembered that I had forgotten my initials for the days of the week on these previous pages, so I'm just gonna add those in before we move on to my mood tracker. This is the Pigma Micron 003. It is an incredibly fine liner. It's very, very small. And I'm using it for my mood tracker here. Inspired by those delicate floral wreaths, I wasn't sure how to make a mood tracker work in this layout where I've been using stickers for all of my decorative elements. And the last time I did this, I did something that didn't really make sense with the rest of the layout, and I didn't really care that it didn't make sense, but also I was like, Push yourself a little harder this time, Erin. So I've made my own delicate floral wreath. If you're following along with this layout and you also want to do this, but you're thinking, I don't have the skills to draw a delicate floral wreath, jump into the description. I have made this available as a printable. It's available for purchase on my Etsy store. Obviously, this version in my book has 31 days because that's how many days are in May, which is the time I'm using it. But I do also have 30 and 28-day versions of this mood tracker available, just in case you'd like to use them in a different month. Yes, I did make the same mistake on that M as I did on my calendar page, and yes, that is really frustrating. I've added some greenery into this floral wreath that isn't going to be part of the mood tracking part of the mood tracker, so I'm just adding that green in now with the 192 Tombow, and I'm just going to assign some colours to represent moods for the flowers. So each one of the flowers is going to represent a day, and I will colour in that flower with the colour that represents the mood that I most closely align with for that day. And I've put it in a box, which has kind of made it a little bit more obvious that my wreath isn't all that symmetrical or well placed on the page, but that's okay, I don't mind. The printable version, I have fixed that. Adding some stickers to tie everything together, and then on the following page, this is a blank space. I'm calling it May Musings. Technically, I guess it's a brain dump page, but I don't like the term brain dump. It doesn't sound very pretty. I know it describes well what you do with the page, but I don't think it sounds nice, so I'm calling it May Musings instead. I don't usually do a brain dump page, so it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. Whether I end up using it a lot or not at all remains to be seen. So I've added in my heading, and I'm going to put some flowers along the bottom, kind of like they're growing up out of a flower bed. Once again, I've made my boxes for both of these pages match up to make things look very nice and cohesive and clean and consistent throughout. And I thought it needed just a little bit of something up the top too to really tie all of this together. Even when filled in, that mood tracker page still has a lot of negative space, so I wanted to make sure that nothing was getting left out. And the next spread is my first weekly for May. It's basically the same as always, where I have the week on the left page and a running to-do list on the right, but I've been trying to push myself and vary how I do this because otherwise I'm just doing the exact same weekly. And even though it works for me and it's functional, there are different ways that you can do the same weekly that look different. So I'm just trying to find all of the ways that I can. This time I've done 8 boxes, and the first 7 are for the days of the week, and the last one I'm just filling with some washi tape. I've seen this done across 2-page layouts with vertical boxes, and I think it looks really nice, so I'm just doing kind of a horizontal twist on that. So these boxes are where any events or specific tasks that need to be done on specific days will go. And on the facing page, lining up once again with the boxes on the opposite side, is my running to-do list. Very similarly to my January setup, I'm adding some little stickers in the corners of these boxes just to accent things a little bit, and I'm going to do 2 rows of washi tape on the right page just to offset the to-do list box. I don't know about you, but I really hate writing on the right-hand side of the right page, so I will quite often add decoration there just so that I never have to deal with the unpleasant feeling that is your hand falling off the cliff on the edge of the book. I can be very particular. Adding some more stickers down the bottom. A few of these are actually from a notebook therapy set, which I used for my January setup, so if you recognize it, maybe it's from there. And here is the final flip through for May 2022. See that transfer from the gold pen? It's really frustrating. I actually, after I finished filming this, got in there with a white paint pen and just went over it a little bit to tone it down. You can absolutely still see that there was something there, but it's not as bold, so I prefer it that way. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you've enjoyed planning with me for May. And if you take any inspiration from this setup, please, please, please tag me. I am at erinsmith.art on Instagram. I would love to see what you do. You can find all of my other links, as I mentioned, in the description. I also make other bullet journaling and stationery content here on my channel, so if it's your first time visiting, thank you for being here. Please consider sticking around and subscribing for more. I publish a new video every Monday, Australian time, which I think is Sundays in the US. So I will catch you again next week, but until then I hope you have a wonderful week. See you next time!